fucked and I'm losing. Take me back to better times, the Tumblr days, 2009. I'm feeling so nostalgic when you smile, and I miss you. Realize the love, I miss the days. Everybody asks if I'm alright. Take me back to 2009. Watch my parents grow old. I'm a disappointment, I know. Monday morning, such a pain. Hangovers only get worse with age. She's way too old to wait in line. She stays at home with a glass of wine. Your student debt up to her knee. Barely ever used her psych degree. Take me back to better times, the Tumblr days.
And now the shots are through the wall, not quite hitting, and there's the kill. Cruz falls to Chew.
Ned puts his face in a giant hole to throw a smoke canister. Not how you do that. Every player on the side.
Play it down. He's not going to be able to. It's the frack. Down to the final win.
Some of those operators who can really give you trouble.
Just right to the side of Project Madness. They're now starting to retake all the way up through the mirror window, but there's one on highway. He gets called out.
Mr. Alexander leaves me without words because he's killing people left and right.
Rowdy, and now Chew finds himself left alone, brings it to the 1v1, shuts down that way as well.
Flame Bolt moves forward and it launches the bandit into clear and plain sight line of the Lion. That doesn't matter at all.
Very bad. He finds two. Can he kill both? He can. Butcher's just better. He is activated on the think of gameplay right now. This is why everyone loves Minka. Oh, nice shot from Butcher. He's going crazy at our squad.
Coming through, they didn't actually drone all the way up through and understand what the setup looks like. The library walk-ups are able to do things like just vault the site here, and especially with that sense wall coming out, really stop them.
It could be anywhere you can find the first one on the yarn. For 5 seconds.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Xenon Gaming Series Season 3 playoffs. We've got another quarterfinals match for you guys after the two that we had, I believe it was yesterday. My name is Mystrierik. I'm joined once again by Slayzilla. Slayzilla, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's great to be back. It's been a weird season for me. Haven't been able to be a part of it as much as I'd like to, but I'm glad to be here for another game. Like you mentioned, the playoffs, we're getting into them, and well, this is just about as important as ever. So tonight's matchup comes between Outlast Academy. They'll be taking on Zero Risk, the winner of which moves on to face Valence in the winner's bracket. The loser takes on Fraud Watch down in the lower brackets. So again, you know what? It's not going to be end of the road quite yet, but you really want to try to stay up there as long as you can. So we'll see what happens as these two teams clash.
Yeah, especially since Valence was one of those undefeated, like, high-ticket teams, similar to Superlight coming into this. We saw them have some struggles yesterday against Fraud Watch, so seeing them stumble a little bit more kind of gives you some extra motivation to win this game, because you have a much better chance, at least going off of yesterday's history and nothing else, of actually making it to the upper bracket finals from that position. We do have a banger match, though. Outlast versus Zero Risk. Zero Risk, of course, was that fourth-place team in the previous season. They, I believe, lost to Space Shubes in that third-place matchup, but they were mainstay in the Xenon Gaming Series, and they've kind of been revitalizing themselves as the season has gone on. And Outlast Academy, well, they're Outlast, baby. They know what they're doing, and they're very aggressive, and they can get in your face with it. So it should be a very aggressive and in-your-face, clashy kind of match tonight. And I can't wait to find out what maps we're going to go on. They should be coming on your screen relatively soon, if I'm not mistaken.
No, absolutely. It will be that best of three as we jump into it. And here they come. Look at that. So Villa, Chalet, and then finally Clubhouse for our deciding matchup if we get there. So looking at how this went, Outlast taking that pick onto Villa. Chalet comes out as well. Now, Villa and Clubhouse, those are pretty big meta maps in this current map pool, I guess. It's what you see a lot of. But Chalet sometimes comes up now and again, but I'm excited to go there. Should be a really, really fun map to head into, especially the kind of contrast between Villa and Chalet. They have similarities, some verticality come into play, but sometimes they're played very differently as well.
Right, yeah. Especially in Xenon 2. In season 2, the previous season we just had, Clubhouse was picked. It's held like every week, and this season it's been pretty much nothing but Oregon Chalet for the vast majority of it. So kind of being a mainstay here. And that also means you have more footage to go over, and especially if you're a team like Outlast, who, in my mind at least, is pretty well known for being a very solid team on a map like Chalet. There's a lot of footage to go over if you're Zero Risk here, and you kind of know how they like to play the map. A lot of my credit for their success on this map goes to Spudsack in particular, too. Just his ability to find openings and push them from places that you seemingly shouldn't be able to push advantages out of. So yeah, it's definitely a really interesting map pool, especially I think starting on Villa. I'm not too familiar with how either of these teams play on Villa, so it'll be a good kind of introduction into the series and see how these teams can fray into the unknown, because like you said, it is a best of 3, so you're going to have to see more maps out of these teams, and you get that extra dynamic of evolving as the series progresses that you don't necessarily get in best of 1s.
Oh, I can't wait. And it looks like we're just about ready to jump into that very first map of Villa. So we'll be hopping in quickly as well. I can't wait. I mean, it's always so fun to get into the playoffs. You start to see all these storylines progress and move through. But Zero Risk, they'll be starting on that defense. Outlast trying to break through, take that attacking side as best they can. We'll check out the operator bands as well. Onto a map like Villa. Well, what do you expect coming through?
Well, from the attacking side, you've got to get rid of Thatcher. This is just on paper one of his best maps. It's that second band that you get a lot of flexibility with. Finka, I wouldn't be surprised to see go. Hibana, not really something I was considering as an option, but yeah, she's got a good amount of use here. Her and Ace kind of splitting the duties on a lot of that primary hard breach or even supplementary hard breach if you're running both. But yeah, she's got that flashbangs as well, so you're kind of forcing teams to bring less throwable utility by banning that out. And Thatcher stays in the game, a knock ban from Outlast Academy. This is going to be a great game, Slay.
We're getting crazy with the bans here. We'll see what operator Outlast takes from the defense now, as they are starting on the attack. They'll try to give themselves a good benefit, and it's going to be Mira, so a little bit more in the realm of, yeah, we're used to that. Valkyrie would be another operator that we see all the time being banned out, but Hibana and Nook, definitely something to look at and give a little bit of a scratch on the chin there, leaving that Thatcher up. Now, the Hibana ban brings me back to a long time ago, before Ace was even in the game, and the Kaid ban comes through as well.
That Kaid ban is crazy, man. Sure, he's got some value on like the AV game side of the map, but he's not like oppressive. You think the maps that he's really good on, like Oregon Basement, he's really good at shutting down hatches. There's not really any hatches on this map that you want to shut down, so it's really just more of a convenience thing. But look at the operators that leaves up. Azami and Valkyrie are left up on the game here, and you're going to see Zero Risk go straight into that Azami for round number 1. This is what you like to see, right? You ban out some weird, like, yeah, sure, it's a pretty normal banned operator, but you ban it in a context that makes it just more awkward and allows operators like Azami Valk to slip through. So now this game's kind of shifted, right? We have Thatcher on the board too. A lot of these non-meta operators, not commonly unbanned operators are left in the game. So a lot of adaptation is going to happen on these teams just to make sure that you can actually play with these operators.
No, without a doubt. So this is going to be very, very fun. I'm excited to see how it changes the game. Now, what I was thinking of earlier with that Hibana ban coming through was a lot of times before Ace was out, you would see Hibana ban on this map just to make sure that when hard breachers had to come up, they had to get real close to that wall, which would help with some more C4s being thrown out. With Ace coming in, you don't really have to worry about that too much. The Hibana ban does seem a little bit interesting, but like you said, it allows a couple more operators that we don't always get to see onto the board. As Outlast picks some up, they're ready to move in. They actually haven't brought the Thatcher out, which sometimes we do see as well. Teams have practiced out Thatcher for so long, they're like, oh, you don't really need him anymore. Thatcher. So we'll see if Thatcher ever is brought in, but for the defense as well, a lot of players going to be prepared. AVG, we do have a little bit of extension out over to trophy statue area. That is that Azami using a couple of those Kiba barriers just to set up and get ready for the push.
Yeah, there's some good early communication coming out from Zero Risk as well. A lot of these like cutoff drones that were early placed by Outlast are being caught early on. You saw that Zombie Bubs there being able to step back based on cam intel. It doesn't look like there's information on this Astro player though. Spudsack's almost able to catch out Mr. Alex player, but instead Mr. Alex player grabs one before Spudsack can claim his kill. But Alibi's already long gone, so a minute down for a 1-for-1 trade there. It could have been a lot worse. So good on Zero Risk to be able to get that much value out of a pretty dead end situation there, and very well played to Mr. Mr. Alex player to be cornered in by two people, find one, and manage to get away from it.
Well, we all have heard tales of Mr. Alex player, someone you need to be aware of on Zero Risk. No doubt about that. Losing the Azami doesn't feel great, but at least you don't have to worry about too many LMGs coming at you. That LMGE now safely taken off the board. You do have the players, they've taken control of this bomb site. However, we're on a different bomb site. They're slowly constricting out Zero Risk and trying to make sure they can hold as much map control as they need. You see the drones coming through, looking over towards 90. There is a player being spotted out as well. So with a minute and just about 15 seconds to go, it's time to prepare for their final execute, while the defense would love to get a couple of extra picks.
Yeah, I think so. It's a good thing to bring up here too, is that the drone economy from Outlast is not in a pretty spot. They have 3 drones left that they can actually drive around, and they're on both of the entry fraggers. And well, entry fraggers don't like droning when you have players like Spudsack just dying to this vault breach that's open, and they're walking up the hallway as well. They're getting aggressive on it. Angel's Man going to be able to get one back. So we are in an even 3v3 until Hadoy opens his loud mouth and claims one back for Outlast to give them the advantage in these last 40 seconds here. And Alzamo grabs one back as well. So these players not really chilling until an execute, especially Alzamo. He grabs another one for himself, just making this vault space work against Outlast Academy. And now it's all onto Nightmare. And look at all of these angles that he's got to check. He's not looking to his left. Monster's going to be able to clean this round up, and Zero Risk, they win a pretty convincing round one. Just Outlast being a little slow to the draw there, I think, being the name of the game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we saw the aggressiveness come through. Mr. Alex player picked up those 2 kills and just said, I have not had enough, continued to move up that hall. Did end up falling, but you could definitely see Zero Risk. They were not content to just sit on site and wait for Outlast to come to them. They definitely put the hurt on. So we'll see what Outlast Academy does, trying to switch things up. Heading into round number 2, it's going to be trophy statuary. If we take a look at the defensive operators, we do see a Frost coming in by Monster, one of those operators that can catch you out every now and again if you're not checking, and especially if there's already someone holding that angle, you either jump into a welcome mat or you look down and get shot. So not a bad operator every now and again. Looking at the rest of the gang, seems pretty similar to what we just saw. Of course, the Azami not going to be a part of the conversation, and in fact the smoke is switched out for his other SAS friend. That's a mute coming through, so a little bit more denial as well of throwables and projectiles with the Wamai and the Jaeger. Hopefully nades are not going to be too big of a problem, but you always have to worry about some vertical nades from below.
Yeah, this is an interesting setup from Zero Risk, just investing heavily into this walk-in and like close master space. It's not something a lot of teams do, mostly just because if both of those master windows get open, that shield doesn't protect you from both of them simultaneously, and especially if they decide to get a little jiggy with it and go upside down repels there. But it's to catch against exactly what Outlast is doing here, right? They're taking the other side of the map, they're crossing over, and then they rotate one player over to get that extra angle of pressure through those holes to deny master. And when you only got one player rotating over there with a minute left, that shield can spell disaster for that position, not being able to get the angles you want here. But of course, that's in future sight. Right now, Outlast has to get themselves into the building and cross. You got some good drone work coming out here. Those drones, of course, that were denied pretty heavily in the previous round haven't been denied so far, and a very nice early shot there from Spudsack to get themselves the opening kill.
Well, Bub's going to be just caught lacking there. Great pop from Spud to give them the early man advantage within a first minute. Not bad. You have Alzamo as well holding an angle with that SMG. Spots a drone flying by as well. You're going to have to be careful here. You don't want to just go trade for trade now. We need to see some kind of advantage come back for Zero Risk. Outlast are certainly going to be reaping the rewards from having that early pick, and Alzamo just about to get taken down there as well. Continues to be pressured in by Outlast. They've got full HP, full weaponry. They're ready to go, and you can start to feel that opposite side take really put the pressure on. A nade from Tomato takes down Monster, and now is the time for Zero Risk to jump in, but instead it's Tomato jumping right into sight. Alex is on a little bit of a roam, still downstairs, but the issue is, well, they're right on your doorstep, and that's a flawless round. Amazing job from Outlast. You hardly even saw him do it, and it'll be a 1-1 game.
It's just an incredible round from Outlast. Honestly, they fixed every mistake that I thought they were showing in that first round there. Their drone game was significantly better. Not even just that they were droning more efficiently, but they were droning with people following it to actually contest it. That Spudsack opening kill, I think, comes to mind, right? He gets droned and immediately people are shooting through 90 window plus books hall. Like, it's just some good coordination that they're pretty well known for, and it's good to see them kind of revive that, especially with that nade kill on the Frost there too. It was a really good idea too by that Frost, right? That's a shield that was angled for Master, and while the attackers aren't going there, just flip the shield, play it from the other side. So it was a good idea, but the ADSs weren't flipped around as well. So that nade just being able to find its target, they're definitely spelling disaster. So yeah, the pressure's now on Zero Risk. They're repeating a site that they got pretty well handed on. Right? They didn't get a single kill at flawless round 4 Outlast, so now they've got to change something up, and it looks like that something is just going to be a little bit more early aggression from Mr. Alex player, and with how he's been playing so far today, and just in general how much denial they are able to get on these roams from that first round, it's probably a really good decision for him to be out here.
No, without a doubt, need to be able to get something happening. We saw Outlast, they just had free reign of the entire map. They were taking people out without really any opposition, as it did end in that flawless round, as we just saw. So heading it again, looks like they're going to try a similar strategy. On Villa, you usually do see this, right? The opposite side take, which oftentimes just gives the attackers more space to work through. They can just play a little bit safer as they move on through. But Alex is going to be playing right into that over in the AVG, looking towards Study, hoping to find one of these attackers early on. We saw what a man advantage can do for you. It can propel an attack forward, or it can really give the defense something to hold on to and really chew into. So we'll see if anyone will fall to Mr. Alex in this initial engagement. And yes, they will. Tomato gets his head ripped off, and Alex escapes behind a shield.
What a roam, man. Mr. Alex player, you gotta say it, man. This is two times. He's roamed 2 rounds this game out of the 3. He's gotten the opening kill on both, made it out of the roam on both, and he's destroyed the drone economy again. They're down 5 drones a minute into the round, and they've got a shield all the way up here in Skuldor as well. So these players on Outlast have a monumental task in front of them, and a lot of pressure is just going to be on these angles that they're holding there. A good walk up 90 Hall by Angel is going to be able to clear the shield without throwing utility, but Mr. Alex player, that deadly player, is still lurking around in this area, but he might not be needed as Monster grabs another.
Minute and 30 seconds. Angel now will fall, finished off by Alex. They might not need him, but he's still doing work. 4 kills within these first 3 rounds. Spud alive, but just barely holding on. Almost finds the head of Alzamo, but playing in this 90 angle, gonna be difficult with such minimal HP and a lot of players knowing where you are in a 5v2 situation. Using that last nade, trying to do something is going to be so important. You don't have the Finka to boost you up anymore, and you don't have any phone calls or anything to really supplement this attack. Nightmare playing as that Dokkaebi chucks in all the flashes and now enters in right onto a welcome mat, quickly eaten up by Bubs, and Spud the 1v5 with minimal HP. The 50 seconds. This doesn't look good for our Sledge here, as he'll be pressured out. You can see all those blue outlines. They're hunting, and Spud, well, I don't know how much time he has left, and it won't be much, as it's a flawless round answered back.
Yeah, Mr. Alex player, man. I can't stop saying his name. A 3K from him there, and just some great positioning and understanding of what he can actually get away with. But even more so as a team, like, look at what Zero Risk was able to do in that round. They saw how Outlast Academy wanted to attack that site, and they said, you know what? Why not? Let's put the entire team in their way. They left 2 people back on site. They got shields, ADSs, Mr. Alex player just sitting there waiting to receive them as they enter into the building, and it works wonders for them. Outlast wasn't able to get an inch after not letting Zero Risk take an inch. So it's going to be interesting here too, because now we're going back to the one site that Zero Risk did win on their first try. So the Outlast team now has to make their adaptations, or maybe they think that they shouldn't have lost that room clear to Mr. Alex player. Maybe they're just going to try and brute force their way through here. If what Spudsack says is true, then we're going to have to wait a little bit longer, as there might be a rehost, and as the players start to leave, it looks like, yeah, that is going to happen here.
All right, so we'll have that quick rehost, but obviously a lot of these players being able to come back and forth, and I think this is setting us up for a really exciting game so far. We've already seen 2 flawless rounds being answered. I mean, this is a great setup to this map and this series in general, so I'm really excited to see how it continues to evolve. As of right now, though, I mean, it's hard to say if one team can burst out of this. They're obviously they've both got that capability. You know, if it were against a lesser team, perhaps they could run over. But these two seem really evenly matched right now.
Yeah, I just love the amount of adaptations that we've been seeing from both teams here too. Obviously, Outlast hasn't had too much room to adapt just because they haven't really seen the same sites multiple times that they've lost. And even here, though, they started showing some adaptations before that rehost came in. I think most notably is that they were picking up a Lion, and I actually really like that pick. I love that he's starting to see his way back into the meta just in general, because if there's one thing he does well, it's he adds lethality to drones. And with how Zero Risk has been roaming so far, and especially the deadliness of Mr. Alex player, finding his position on drone, locking him in place, and being able to throw utility or swing on him could make this roam clear for them significantly better. And since that's most likely what we're going to see Outlast lean into, since they kind of don't like changing their overall attacking path, I like the pickup. I really do. I think it's better than the Doke here.
Yeah, it should be really good. I'm excited to see if it does pay dividends, but looks like we're just going to be about ready to jump back in. Everything is settled up. So without further ado, let's get back into the game. It's round 4 as we head in. Outlast, like you said, a couple of adaptations. They're ready to go. They're ready to make some things happen. We'll be once again going to trophies.
That's illegal. That site should be locked. Okay. Well, we're going to Trophy Statuary. We'll wait to hear from admins about that. It looks like we might be rehosting again. We'll find out soon. Yeah, we're gonna go back to rehost. Sorry for that, guys. Bear with us on that. It's one of those things where if you're a player and you've never had to rehost a map, there's like a bajillion things to check off. One of them slips your mind, you got to rehost it again. It happens. Bear with us.
It certainly does. No big deal, though. We'll be quickly figuring everything out. We've got some amazing production who've been working very fast today to get these rehosts oh so smooth. So shouldn't be too long at all before we get everything ready to go. But really, I mean, of course, at a best of 3, the question can come into mind is what will happen as these maps progress. Now, it isn't going to be some big old best of 5. We shouldn't have that much fatigue, but there can still be some very obvious changes as it progresses. So that's another thing I'm really looking forward to seeing as we head further into the series.
Yeah, I think especially too, once we get into that break between map 1 and 2, that's really like where the IGLs have to shine within a best of 3. Is you've got to be able to read your opponents in the map, right? You've got to be able to adapt to them on the fly, but you also have to be able to adapt to their general playstyle and how they're playing on the day, so that you can go into the next map with as much of an advantage as you can. So yeah, the best of 3 dynamic definitely going to come out here, and I think something we haven't mentioned, infinite overtime is on the cards here, and these teams are playing very neck and neck in just terms of skill right now, so we could dabble into a little bit of that, and especially since it is a best of 3, could be here for a while, and that can wear down on these players if they're not used to playing 5-hour games or sets here, right? You'd expect it to be like closer to your 2-hour scrim, not like a 5-hour slugfest here. So that's something that we could end up seeing should these teams not be able to separate each other.
Well, looks like we're finally back and the site is opened up. It's going to be AVG that we head back to. Now, Zero Risk on round 1, they did win this, and it was, like you said, a pretty definitive win in their favor. We saw some aggressive moves from their defense. They were really getting active even towards kind of the later end of the round where you expected Outlast to get ready for their execute. It instead felt like Zero Risk was executing upon the attack, and well, it ended up ending quickly. So we'll see what Outlast can do. You mentioned a couple of those operator changes. We do see Tomato onto that Lion as we jump through. Let's see what they can do here.
Yeah, I mean, look at this lineup that Outlast is showing right now. Obviously, they can change it out. We do have attacker repick, but it looks like they're going to be sticking with it here. And this lineup just screams one thing, man. They want to clear the map. They're bringing Lion and Doke, plus the Ace as well. People kind of underrate Ace just in general as a roam clearer, but his throwable hard breach, especially on a map or site, like AV Games, you don't need much hard breaching for the site. So being able to open these extended reinforcements definitely helps out the attacker's ability ability to clear. Plus, you got the Finka. She's good for everything, but roam clear is one of those, right? You Finka boost, you run at them, 100 bullets, they should die every time. So yeah, Outlast maybe bringing a couple extra operators here to help deal with this roam.
They're ready to go, absolutely. So we do have a Jackal not banned, so that could be something they potentially look into. Of course, Jackal not an operator you see a ton in competitive. Every now and again he'll be brought out, but Mr. Alex already down on the ground and finished off by Nightmare. Hey, that takes care of the big scary roamer real quickly within the first 45 seconds or so. So Outlast definitely looking strong, but Bubs is going to fight back, takes down Spudsack. That is the sledge off the board, so less in the ability to use some of that soft destruction, but you've still got a lot of scary operators coming your way. We'll see if the rest of Zero Risk has the metal to fight them down, and Tomato takes down Nurox, now the 3v4.
Yeah, the pace from Outlast is just so much more aggressive and in the face of Zero Risk, and they've got Dokkaebi on the board as well. So the attackers are on the defenders' cams here, so they're gonna have to start looking to shoot out their own cams. It's not a good situation to be in, not the one you want to be in, but it's the one they're in nonetheless. Just some excellent tempo from Outlast, and they're starting to clear their way up towards 90 here, having successfully thrown a couple of nades to get Bubs to drop down that hatch and rotate over towards main stairs, and he's gonna get cut off by Nightmare, who's just been existing in the basement this entire time after that first kill. So the cutoff's in play and just some incredible team coordination from Outlast so far.
They look real good, and without Zamo taking a severe amount of damage, it again has been this back and forth story. It would be one heck of a play for Zero Risk to dig themselves out of this one. You do have Monster at full HP, but Alzamo getting pinched and shut down by the Finka. Monster looks to get aggro and doesn't find anything but the EBR shooting right back. Zero Risk take the round loss, and it's again that 1-for-1, that blow for blow succession. We see Zero Risk now have that opportunity to try to find one of their own, and we'll see how long this can go. But each team have just been right neck and neck, like you said. The question is, when do they break? And, well, do they break at all, or do we see this all the way into overtime?
Yeah, especially on a map like Villa too. I feel like it always feels like Villa should be defender sided, but I've seen it more and more where we get these 4-2 attacking sided Villas, but you're always kicking yourself when you're on defense and you keep losing these rounds that you feel like you should be winning, that you're favored on, and it causes you to do some silly things like switch your incredible roamer who's been having a great game onto Capcan. That's one option that you have here if you're the side of Zero Risk, and that's the only adaptation really that they're making. And I don't know how much this is going to pan out. Outlast Academy, at least in the rounds that they've won, they've been droning incredibly well, and you'd expect them to find these, but maybe there's a slip up and they get a tag, but you got Finka on the board to remember about here still, so it should be able to heal up that damage, and especially with how Alex player is just spreading them out, one Capcan trap per door, it shouldn't be lethal damage.
Absolutely, Mr. Alex player on the Capcan. We see a couple of these trap operators come out every now and again. Capcan definitely one that we've seen less, but always exciting to see him, especially with, like I said, the ability to put a couple of traps on the doorway. Of course, might not be seen here. Let's find out what Zero Risk can do on this defense. Outlast Academy, they look so strong on their previous attack, but they look strong, and then the defense is able to answer that right back. It's been that pattern we've seen all day. Again, that opposite side take is looking to be droned out now by Tomato here. There's a couple of operators waiting and ready. You see Bubs on that Azami as well as Alex player on that Capcan. Tomato hoping to provide just a little bit of a distraction here. Spud coming from below. We might see a couple nades being tossed up depending on where he rotates and what the plan is, but a minute has passed in the round and no big action yet.
Yeah, Tomatoes alone, he's just faking the cross clear. It's going to be an undertake, and Hadoi sounds the opening alarms here. He kills that main stairs player that's normally one of the hardest points to clear on this main stairs take. He didn't even throw utility for it. He just walked at him and made it work, and now these players on Zero Risk, they've got to start looking to come back. There's only one player on site, that's Elzamo. If Outlast tries to hit site right now, they should be successful, but that extra angle of pressure does get cleaned up by Mr. Alex player with these dope calls coming out as well. Just looking for these frag nades from under. Is Zero Risk aware of this? They're at least aware enough to swing out onto Hadoi, shotgun him down, and retake that bar position there. So it's good heads-up play from Ozalmo. And now Outlast is in a very awkward spot, and they look a little bit unsure of how they want to approach the site.
still trying to get a couple of drones in there and understand what they need to do. Spud continually swinging, just hoping to find some sort of a break, but no doubt about it, Zero Risk, they brought themselves to a good position. Angel, though, puts it right back into the even man count. Spud continuing to look, just hoping to find anybody with under 60 seconds to go. The pressure is on. Bubs falls to that pressure. Nightmare again on that Dokkaebi will find the Azami. Alzamo getting aggressive, takes down the sledge, and now right back to the 2v2. 45 seconds on the clock. It's going to be an absolute fight here for the attack to get in, to feel confident. The operators left up. We don't have too many who are especially good at holding out. The C4 misses, and Angel continues to take peeks. There's Nightmare finding Alex, and it's all on Alzamo with just under 30 seconds to go. It's going to be a gunfight as the plant goes down now from Angel.
Yeah, Zalmo doesn't have any utility in his pockets to try and isolate these 1v1s, and Nightmare gets his third or fourth on the round. I stopped counting after he just kept killing people, man. And since we've rehosted, Nightmare is 6-0-0. He's just been having a stellar performance ever since we had to pause the game due to unfortunate reasons there, but still, that's an incredible scoreline to be showing at any point in the game. And to really put Zero Risk in this awkward position where they've lost their primary site twice, they're going back to that secondary site that they're 50-50 on so far. And with how Outlast has been adapting, moving people around, you can't really rely on your previous knowledge of what attack was shown in the previous times. So they kind of have to wing this on the fly. They're almost operating blind here.
Without a doubt, Outlast have come out with some tricks of their own. There's no doubt about that. They've been difficult to really deal with. And we saw Alex was able to find one kill, but it just wasn't enough as time ran down. Alzamo as well, somebody who helped out on that operator using that M590, but as time ran down, just didn't have the staying power. As we head back to Trophy Statuary, it is a 50-50 for this team, but the bigger thing is 100% of the times, it's been a flawless round. Both times we saw Trophy Statuary, they were flawless. Once by Outlast, the second by Zero Risk. We'll see if that trend continues as we head into round number 6. This will be the final defensive round for Zero Risk until we potentially come back to overtime. So Outlast would love to snag that 4-2.
And there's a couple of interesting things coming into this round, too. We're 5 rounds in, and every round we've seen so far, the team that gets the opening pick has been able to successfully convert the round. So both of these teams just playing well enough to not be able to lose on their advantages there. I think another thing that needs to be brought up here is that operator that you were talking about doesn't see a whole lot of pick, but when you're up against a team that's as in your face as Zero Risk is right now, the Jackal pick coming out, I think, makes quite a bit of sense. Being able to find out where these roamers are, and some of that droning coming out as well. Look at that nade. Spudsack doesn't miss those. And that's a lot of this horizontal pressure gone with the single twist of the wrist.
You love those, man. Verticality nades. Just so disgusting as you really can't do anything about it. You're just having to move and be aware about when something is coming at you, when those drones are looking at you. But it's such a terrifying idea that you could have someone roaming down there like Spudsack just ready to toss up a frag grenade. And it's even scarier than a defense because you don't have just one nade like you do a single nitro cell. You got a potential of 2, a potential as well of Nightmare getting dropped. Just takes a lick of damage here. Still, Outlast Academy have that 5v4 man advantage, but with a minute and 30 to go, plenty of time for Zero Risk to try to get something swaying in their favor. They've still got some of their big names up and ready to go.
Yeah, this push here from Outlast is stalling in the bench, that 90 corridor. It's typically where attacks on this map do stall out. They've got enough time here to try and make this conversion work, but I think it's incredibly notable that since they encountered that shield and master the first time, they're not even rotating anyone out there yet. Some of the silhouettes are starting to disappear, so potentially extra angles being looked at opening up here. But these players from Outlast Academy just letting the clock dwindle down further and further away, and especially since once these tags start coming out, but Angel doesn't care about tags. He's going to take the full-on kill. Azalo trades one back, though, so no real advantage gained, and Box is surrendered as well before Spudsack grabs another player. And these players on Zero Risk now starting to have to look both ways, but Alzamo is looking in the right direction, gets 1 for 1, but Hadoy grabs 2 to very quickly end the round and end the half in very firmly in Outlast's favor. That's a 4-2 lead for Outlast from the attack on Villa.
4-2 lead on the attack as well as 3 rounds in a row. Some great momentum building up into Outlast's defense, and we'll see just how well they can hold on here as well. They're actually opting to go downstairs to Dining Kitchen, which should be interesting. A couple of bricks of C4 very well could be seen as well. You have that Pulse, that Valkyrie, that Mute, all have access to those explosive bricks, and we'll see just how many are going to be used properly. It's kind of interesting heading downstairs to Dining. It's not a site that we always see as a primary, but I mean, if they're confident, they're feeling good, you might as well start here and really show them what you can do. That Valkyrie being up as well adds some extra intel, like the Malusi trying to slow him down a little bit, and the Ella coming through as well. Those mines, those little Grismont mines, they can certainly cause a little bit of a stun, give a little bit of an idea of where people are pushing from. So let's see how well this Outlast Academy defense can work.
Yeah, so if I have to be honest with you, this site, it's one of my guilty pleasures in Rainbow Six. I love this site. It's so awkward for both sides, but you can just kind of live in that awkwardness. And if you can embrace that and do things like this double intel, triple nitro cell shenanigans that Outlast have going on, and especially with how different this setup is to anything we've seen Zero Risk bring out so far, they're really changing the pace and how this map is going to play just by picking an off site and a couple of weird ops. So I really like this, even just from a mental game kind of point here. Of course, Zero Risk is going to be starting on that cross clear that's oh so common on a map like Villa. Some of these players rotating around, just grabbing angles, cutting off crosses so that they can get in the map efficiently and try and grab any of these roaming Outlast players before they're able to get back to the site.
Hoping to find a couple of early kills. That's the idea, and you might be able to see one happen. Angel, how do you escape that? Around 50 HP dug off of the Pulse, and you'd love to take that Pulse out quickly, and it'll be Alex player to deliver the final blow there. So without the Pulse, there goes a C4 brick as well as some intel. Bubs taking a bit of damage as well, and Hidoi all the way upstairs waiting and ready. It's actually Nurox who will be down, not quite out until the finishing blow is there. Bubs gets that refrag onto Spudsack, so still the man advantage going in favor of Zero Risk. They're starting to crawl back to site a little bit more, defend up, get things hopefully flowing in their favor, but Zero Risk off the bat, putting in a couple of early kills there.
Yeah, and their early kills before the attacks even started to take shape. There's people duking it out in the basement while the rest of the team's just completely stalled on this horizontal clear here, to the point where Hidoi is able to exist on red stairs. Not a position you normally get to play, but when you're not even clearing upstairs on a kitchen attack, you're allowed to exist here, and especially look at Nightmare's position as well, just playing around that mudroom space, gonna grab one and just start spraying through the walls. You're allowed to do that with 40 bullets in the mag. The patience from Zero Risk is definitely showing, right? They've got the patience to sit here and try and catch any Outlast players that get aggressive, but they're a little bit too patient, and they allow players like Hidoi to get the drop on them when they, as the attackers, should be getting the drop, and Alex player does do that. He grabs two from bottom red. This basement play from Mr. Alex player getting insane amount of value for what it's worth, but it's still a winnable 1v2, especially with some of this intel coming out from those Valk camps left for Nightmare.
40 seconds to go. Nightmare is in a little bit of a nightmare indeed. That Scorpion fast fire rate, nice little weapon. We'll see how effective it'll be. Alex has been somebody you just need to deal with, and
oh no,
Pelt runs right into them. The reload came at an inopportune time. Both of those SAS ops. In fact, we've got just about every SAS op you could wish for here. That's Alex dead, but the flank from the other side is Monster picking up the first kill, sends that rehose for him, and an excellent way to end the round in favor of Zero Risk. They certainly need to mount a comeback, and now is a great time to do so.
Yeah, it's a little bit of miscommunication there, I think, from Outlast, or excuse me, from Zero Risk on the end. Just not timing the swing and giving Nightmare a chance there with how well he's been performing. It's not an opportunity you really want to give him there. But yeah, Zero Risk is still able to pick up that round. It was, I'm going to say chaotic, to say the least. Just people duking it out all over the map. You get a special treat, because who's ever seen a gunfight happen in the Villa basement, let alone then that player existing in the basement and grabbing another two. So definitely some fun things happening here. And Outlast thinks that they know what went wrong with the site, because they're choosing to repeat it. And I think a couple of different operator changes, at least one, just the one actually. Pulse gone, Goyo in. And I kind of like that. You know, it's less roamy. You're not going to get caught in the basement for Mr. Alex player just running in with that sledgehammer. But it also means that with how slow Zero Risk is at actually converting into the bomb site, those Goyo canisters that burn for 20 seconds will be able to deal about 60 to 70 damage to these players as they try to walk in.
No, absolutely. It's always about trying to find the weaknesses of the opposing team. Outlast, they may have just discovered one here. If we see Zero Risk take their time jumping onto site, that's going to come into play, no doubt about that. Nightmare is still 8-1. I mean, just having a knockout performance since this rehost. Not sure how many kills they had before we had the big old rehost, but without a doubt on this Ellis, somebody you'd love to see continue to perform. Alex, you just have to watch out for Alex. Again, just hunting you down and ready to go, but it's actually Angel taking down Nurox. Unfortunate for the Yana to go down early. Nades as well as Intel can be so useful, especially a little bit earlier into the round. So this will be Zero Risk having to fight back with that initial man disadvantage.
Well, you know what they say, stats don't lie, and according to the stats, Angels just won the round for Outlast. We still have a 100% opening kill to round win conversion here. And, well, that opening kill's definitely slowed Zero Risk down. Like, just look at this pace here. It's a minute gone, and they're just now stepping up into Study AV. Just that initial kill making them have to redrone that underside of the map is... It's such an insane value for grabbing a kill and running away, which is definitely something we don't see a lot of players in Xenon do. A lot of these players love to get that kill and continue going forward aggressive, but you can get a lot of value by just disappearing into the night.
Oh, especially on that defense. I mean, that is the main goal of being a roamer. Just being able to take a kill and then disappear, waste time. That is so perfect. Grisma Mine after Grisma Mine continues to slow down this offensive push here. Monster fighting through it, but the C4, 2 C4s, one from Angel, the second from Hidoi, just annihilates the majority of Zero Risk team, and now it's a 2v5. Those explosives have been coming out to play, and Mr. Alex and Alzamo, well, they'll be sending a couple of nades the other way, but I just don't know if it'll have the same effect. Oh, just about takes down Angel. Knows they're rotating up the stairs, but still loses the gunfight. It's Hidoi and Angel finishing up the round. Another flawless from Outlast.
What? I don't understand. Angel goes from swinging main door to nitring people to they know he's on red stairs and swinging that too. He's just feeling himself a little bit. He had a little bit of a slow start since the rehost, but he doesn't care anymore. He's definitely got himself back onto the board. He picked a fire operator to heat up, just warming himself up just a little bit more going forward here. That's such a good round win for Outlast too. Look at the scoreline, just 3-5. This is such an awkward spot to be in if you're Zero Risk. Honestly, I would have taken the time out there just to try and slow this tempo maybe a little bit more, and because you have to win this round. You lose anything past this point, and you're looking down match point until you reach that infinite overtime, and that's not a spot you really want to go to.
Oh yeah, it's always so tough being down on that razor thin margin, right? You can't lose a single round. So absolutely Zero Risk. They're going to be coming in here knowing what they have to do. Looking at the defensive operators as well, you see the smoke back in game. In fact, we have all 4 SAS ops, which is something we never see in competitive Rainbow Six. Usually one of them, Thatcher, is always banned out. So a momentous occasion for the SAS guys to be here. But I like the Thunderbird coming through, can give a little bit of health off with those Kona stations. Nightmare, not a bad gun either with that spear, something that Finka has, although you might not know it with how many times we see the LMG come through. But the defense, they look strong, and Outlast Academy, there's no doubt that they can push this all the way to match point right here. Zero Risk, they need to show us something different. They can't be losing these early engagements, walking into gunfights. We need to see an opening kill, maybe a couple of opening kills come from Zero Risk side.
Yeah, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, Slay, as well. This stature pick doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Just what are you gonna EMP? Look at the side of Outlast. The only thing that you can get is these mute jammers, but they're mute jammers. You should be able to work around those anyway. Their wall denial capability got nerfed into the ground recently. And these players from Zero Risk, they're trying to enter first floor again. They're just trying to fight for the space to try and throw nades up at the ceiling, potentially to get rid of the mute jammer, but they brought a Thatcher. So this feels unnecessary and a little redundant from them, and they're just giving Outlast more space to take these engagements.
Oh my goodness, and there's Nurox actually finding the kill onto Hidoi. Hidoi has been somebody you need to be scared of here. So being able to find that opening kill, absolutely what you like to see now from Zero Risk. Fighting this out. You still have the Malusi. Look how many of those blue outlines are so close to this operator. We'll have to see if they can all come in unscathed. Some feeds, but it goes the other way. Actually, Alex is able to find one. You do see a kill going the other way, taking down Bubs. Still a 4v3 in favor of Zero Risk, but another player. It's Tomato now rotating through, hoping to catch someone late, and that'll be Alzamo going down. Diffuser on the floor. The 90 comes out, and Monster will fall. Outlast Academy, they've got control of the diffuser, and they've got man advantage. Zero Risk, what can you do?
Yeah, they have a lot more than just the man advantage too. Look at the map space advantage. These players on Zero Risk, once those the bathroom players got cleared out, they have nothing to their name. They're just throwing nades at the ceiling and praying that one of these members of Outlast is going to step into it, and they're better than that. And look at their pockets too. They've got 3 smoke canisters left on Tomato, and with how well he's been playing, he's starting to throw them out early too. Just a very smart move, right? You can really control where Zero Risk is allowed to move just by throwing these smoke canisters early, and you don't want to be in a position where you have to try and just rush past the smoke with 10 seconds left here. So the smoke's coming out at a great time to make these players on Zero Risk funnel in towards this bathroom space because they can't really go anywhere else. 20 seconds left, the clock ticking down. These players on Zero Risk just begging for one of these Outlast players to try and take a swing so that they can win a gunfight and get the man advantage back in their favor. But Outlast is a little bit too disciplined on the day. They know this is the playoffs. They understand what it means, and Spunsack knows what it means to his heart's content. He grabs one. He does end up getting dropped by Mr. Alex player. Just such an incredible player, but Tomato a little bit better right now, peeking up on that sideways angle shield, winning the round out for Outlast. What a great comeback into that round, too, with how horribly it started for them.
Without a doubt, Outlast is not a team you can just count down. They just come back over and over again. And for Zero Risk, it's not a good situation anymore. It's a 6-3 in favor of Outlast. They're on the defense. They get to go down to AVG. This is going to be 3 rounds in a row from Zero Risk to bring it back and take us to overtime. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. And honestly, the big thing I'm noticing right now about Outlast is there's not just one player that is being a hero. All of them have made great plays. Now you've got Hidoi and Nightmare, kind of the top fraggers, but you've seen what they can do. Swings coming through, SMG-11 into double kills with the shotgun. I mean, all of these players have been just playmakers so far. And for Zero Risk, you've got Mr. Alex doing work. Alzamo, unfortunately, it feels like the base of Zero Risk needs to just step up a little bit more, give a little bit more of a helping hand here as we head in to big old round number 10. This is time to see how far Zero Risk can push themselves from map 1.
Yeah, I want to see Zero Risk really just play this round normally, too. It sounds like redundant, right? Why do you want to give the defenders something that they're comfortable in with? One attacks this site with a cross through, or the majority of people do. It's something that you should be comfortable playing against, but there's a reason it's the normal, right? It's a good attack. It's very easy to understand and execute, and it means that on a team, you can fix some of these problems that you've been visibly struggling with. Just that coordination and communication from Zero Risk is very visibly and noticeably not there yet, and so going with something a little bit more consistent and stable can really help you bring that into your favor. But right now, they're going for this vertical take, and with how many players are stacked outside of study, I'm getting a little bit concerned because the crux of this attack is being able to work your way up main stairs so that you can actually get in study. And well, there's no one from Zero Risk even in that possibly contested until Alex player rotates a minute into the round.
This is all going a little bit slow here. There's no doubt about that, and they're thinking about maybe moving some other directions here as well. As you saw, Mr. Alex hopefully going to take that main stair pressure off. It's so difficult to just push into study, especially with a team as capable as Outlast. It won't be easy here. So without a doubt, we're going to be seeing some kind of Hail Mary onto this site as soon as it happens. Kalpa EMP being tossed out by Monster, hoping to take down a couple of the electronics, and Bubs down as well. Now being blocked off actually by a smoke canister used relatively early into the round, but no doubt to good measure, continuing to just lock out Zero Risk. They have not even entered the map at all. Nurox finally picks up onto Hidoi. That's going to be the Azami now dead. An opening potentially here. We'll see if Zero Risk can take advantage of it.
Yeah, just some good coordination from Outlast, and Zero Risk is starting to wake themselves up a little bit as these nades finally start coming out, thrown onto the floorboard. But look at the clock. This is normally something you're doing in the first minute and a half, not in the tail end of the round here as night starts to rise on you. And they've got to just get a move on them, but they've got to take gunfights through the floorboard to even get a chance at taking a gunfight against Nightmare on the main stairs. So it's not looking too pretty here for Zero Risk, and it only gets worse as Spudsack grabs one, Spudsack grabs two, and a down comes out from Nightmare as well. Nightmare does get dropped. That's a great kill for a monster to at least get something back from them, but the clock definitely against them here. And with Spudsack grabbing 4 off of main stairs, it feels like this map is just over now. 30 seconds left. Alzamo has so many people left to find, and they're not giving him an inch. They're all playing passive. They understand what this means. They swing at the same time, and it's an ace for Spudsack to win Villa and send us to Chalet in such a definitive fashion there, too.
Wasting no time at all. Spudsack gets the ace done. Amazing job. Now, if you can just kind of go back and think about how this game started, we saw such a back and forth fight until Outlast just said, we've had enough of that. And they ran away. Took 3 rounds in a row. You saw Zero Risk try to fight back, but it's another 3 in a row from Outlast to finish the map up. Amazing, amazing job here on Villa. I'm excited to see what happens on Chalet if Zero Risk are able to come back, but there's no doubt Outlast, they want to stay in the winner's bracket. They want to take on Valence, and they're ready to push through.
Yeah, I think my biggest concern right now with Chalet is just how tempo based it is. If you think about how you want to attack Chalet, right? The time is the most limiting factor. It's an attacker sided map at heart, just because if the attackers do everything on their checklist, it should be very straightforward to execute onto all the sites. But the problem is you have to complete that checklist within a certain amount of time. And with just how slow Zero Risk look right now, I'm a little bit worried about that, but it is their map pick. So there's a very good chance that if they're going to bring that tempo back in their favor, it will be on this map. We're going to head off to a short break. We'll be back in about 5 to 10 minutes with map number 2. It is going to be Chalet, and with how good that first game was, you better believe the second map's going to be even better. So don't go too far. We'll be right back.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Xenon Gaming Series Playoffs. My name is Slayzilla. I'm joined with the lovely Mist, and we're ready to jump into map number 2. Now, we've done some number crunching, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but there is a tweet floating out there right now that says if we get to 200 viewers, we'll have our dear friend, our owner of the league and producer, Andrew, ThatBattery, come out wearing a maid suit, doing some sort of dance. So what's the math? What's the lineup for that?
I've been running some of the numbers, and I think we've got about 31 viewers right now. And if everyone calls their 7 closest friends, maybe 7.5, the math isn't quite nice there. Call your 7.5 closest friends, get them in the stream, because I really want to see Andrew dance around in a maid costume. That sounds like a great start to a stream, especially if we can get that in before the finals. That'd be pretty good there. Anyways, back to being on topic here. Outlast Academy versus Zero Risk. We saw a pretty tense opening to that map, and it kind of petered off. Just Outlast's ability to, well, outlast the competition there, right? They were just a lot better as the game progressed. Whoever is IGLing for them, like, they deserve at least 10 gold stars for that. Everything that Zero Risk tried to do past, like, round 5 was just being countered before it even started. Just some incredible IGLing, teamwork, coordination, communication there. And going to a map like Chalet, this is Zero Risk's pick, but it's such a map that requires that teamwork and coordination to be successful on. And especially since Outlast is starting on the attack, if they can carry that momentum over, we could see this game spiral out of control pretty quickly.
No, there's no doubt about that. And it sounds like we're just about ready to jump into this lovely map of Chalet. So we'll be able to see some of those thoughts in practice potentially. But there's no doubt Outlast Academy, they're coming in. They're feeling strong. They're feeling so good. But Zero Risk, this is their map pick. This is where they wanted to go. So maybe this is where they stave off the brutality that they faced back on Villa. Outlast Academy looked dangerous, but we'll check out what the operator bans are going to be. Do we head back to reality? Is that Thatcher off the board? No, it's going to be the Flores, which leaves Thatcher potentially up. We'll see if Outlast takes him off, but I mean, honestly, he wasn't that big of an impact, it seemed. We saw him brought every now and again, but there were some really good counters to those players anyway, and it'll actually be the Nook taken off again. So Thatcher, for the second game, left up.
Yeah, I really like this play from Outlast too. It's kind of like the Mira conundrum, where you ban Mira every game, but then you leave it up, and the other team feels like they have to play it, even if they're not ready to be the team playing it. There's a skill required to play with and against these operators, and being comfortable playing with Thatcher on the board is definitely a skill that Outlast is saying that they're confident in. They are going to remove that Mira. A little bit weird on a map like Chalet, not Mira's best map. It definitely works really well on the basement site, so maybe taking some value away from that basement. Ooh, a mute ban. One of your favorite SAS bros just gone off the rip. So I guess technically he has 100% presence in every round since he shows up at the top of the screen. So we'll count it for our cards here. And now that Thatcher's up too, we could see all the operators show up. A little bit of confusion in the chat. Hopefully that gets taken away pretty quickly. Starting in the basement, it is that site that I talked about. And we've seen a lot of teams have different ideas for how to hold this basement. I think the most there one has been Valence's unstoppable thorn shield into the refrigerator hallway. Good luck. Sometimes he kills 3 people and wins the round. I don't expect that to be happening here, but look at some of these ops that they're bringing. A zombie was left up, Thorn coming out. Definitely some cool ideas here for the basement site.
It'll be really interesting to see how Outlast takes this as well. Of course, we'll see those operators get locked in eventually, and we'll see really who's coming in. But a lot of teams, they do focus heavily on just trying to pop open that garage wall from the outside. But I've seen a couple of successful takes coming into Wine Cellar and getting that plant down early on. And sometimes it's not seen. Sometimes the defense is prepared for that. We'll find out just what Outlast is planning. Operators are going to be locked in. We do see that line as well as that Thermite coming through. Now, you do have the Thatcher on board, but he's not being played, which is a little bit interesting. But even so, without the Thatcher being played, there's no denial on the wall because they'd figured they're just going to take a Thatcher out anyway. So, I mean, honestly, Thatcher up with the 6th pick, very, very difficult to feel confident that your walls are going to stay up.
Yeah, the Thatcher not showing up too. It's not uncommon to see, especially if you're attacking, well, not the side of sight that Outlast is setting themselves up for there. But yeah, you're right. There's no wall denial, so they're going to be able to get everything open. And with these players positioning around Big Garage, around Trench and West Main here, they are going for that wine side attack that you were kind of talking about here too, but they're getting an extra angle, just that extra bit of pressure being applied towards sight, and it's making players be a little bit hesitant, and it's allowing players like Tomato being able to pick up people roaming around upstairs as they try and get a little overzealous on that. So it's a very good opening pick. It is going to be traded out though. Nurox isn't going to let that go unanswered. Nightmare tagged down very low too, so it's a very aggressive opening minute, but it's not really a definitive one to either side.
Well, there's Angel picking up one, the double kill from Angel as he says, let me show you something about definitiveness. And now Zero Risk find themselves in a 2v4. The plant being attempted by Spudsack. Alzamo on those stairs. It's actually Nurox trying to rotate around, get something happening, but now complete control of that wine cellar given up. The SMG doesn't hit. It's Spud taking Alzamo down, and Nurox left upstairs in very, very dire straits. 30 seconds left on that diffuser. You gotta jump on it at some point, but with so many players waiting and watching, he won't even hit the ground before he's killed.
Yeah, a little bit of a ragdoll effect coming into play there as he just slumps over that table. Yeah, this is just such a good burst entry there by the Fragmite too. Not the operator you'd expect to see it, not really the player you'd expect to go big for Outlast and really open the map up huge. The Thermite of all people just cutting off all the site. And once those two players on site died too, you saw those last two members of Zero Risk really just stuck on that main stairs trying to work their way down. It was just such a simple round win from that point. Just some excellent execution from the side of Outlast Academy, and interestingly, Zero Risk choosing to repeat this site. Maybe they've got a fix to what happened in the previous round. We're going to have to find out here. And I think it's got to start on that player that we've highlighted so much in the previous game. Mr. Alex player is going to have to really show us why he's playing up here, because he was shut down so quickly in the previous round by Tomato.
I feel like a lot of players were shut down so quickly, but we did see one of those opening picks right onto our dear friend Alex. So trying to survive a little bit longer, no doubt. I mean, if we talk about Zero Risk, just somebody who always comes to mind is Alex here. So hoping to have that impact, we all need to see a couple of operators coming in ready to go. We actually do have that Yana being picked up. Now the Thermite sat back down. It's a Hibana who comes through in as well, and that Lion continuingly on the board here for Outlast Academy. Heading upstairs this time, a little bit more of a top-down take, trying to clear out any potential roamers, such as Nurox on that Jaeger, hoping to be the first initial contact here, as you can see a couple of those players heading in towards Library. Nurox will be the first one to potentially take that engagement, as you can see a lot of them getting ready to move in, and the drones just about give the information needed to take down the Jaeger.
Yeah, but there's no Thunderbird or Doc on board, so that damage is permanent. Nurox is going to be one-tap to any of these weapons that the attackers are bringing out, except maybe Hibana's for the rest of the round. And I really like this adaptation that Outlast made. They won the round and they're still adapting. Talk about just the ability and confidence in your own team to make changes here. And I think it's a really good call. Just look at how Zero Risk is playing this right now. There's so many people upstairs, and well, there is a little bit of risk to that. Sometimes players like Bubs can walk up blue stairs and make magic happen for their team. Nightmare gone early, such a highlight player for Outlast on Villa, is going to be silenced really quickly, and with all of those Finka boosts in pocket. So all of that insane utility that she's been so known for recently is just removed from the board very quickly.
It's one of those operators you just love getting off the board early as a defender. It's almost like your smoke for the attacking side can be so powerful later into the round now. And as we do only have about half the round left, we'll start to see Outlast Academy trying to get a good grip on this round and see what they can do. You see Hibana, the Hatch Queen, opening up a couple of those hatches, but continuing to defend from above. A nice angle all the way onto those stairs, and it's actually going to be Tomato finishing off what was left of Nurox. You mentioned how low that HP was, but now Tomato as well will be stuck around 25 HP or so, continuing to use that sledgehammer, taking damage. It's from the hole, the very hole sledged was his own cause of death. Under 55 seconds to go.
Yeah, that sledgehammer definitely able to open a lot of good verticality, but holes in this game go both ways as well as do zombie barricades, but not when they're removed that quickly and another one comes out, just really blocking out this doorway here. I actually really like this too. You're just giving him something to worry about, not letting him find effectiveness. And now Tomato has got to just make it work by just chucking flashbangs and
Oh,
hoping that it gets a pick. That player is so wide swung out. The player on the hatch not quite in a position to catch them quickly enough. And there's some trades going out too. A hatch drop is successful until blue player swings out. That's 2 for Bubs on the round. This top main stairs player taking a duel is going to be the first one that Zero Risk loses for in quite a while here, as now Angel is left all alone. He's going to try and drop the hatch, but Alex player will collect. Just a very different style of attack coming out here from Outlast, and Zero Risk didn't seem phased by it at all. They're able to convert it rather flawlessly there too, only dropping 1 to 2 players, and even then, with those players dead, they understood what was happening from Outlast at every waking moment of that round. So very well played by Zero Risk to once again put us on that teeter-totter at the start of the game.
just a very different vibe coming in, right? I mean, absolutely great job to Zero Risk, able to stave off the attack, and especially with Nightmare going down early on, the Finka can be such a propellant for a team moving forward. Great kill there. Angel, up to 4 kills now, has been putting in quite a little bit of a work. If you look at Zero Risk, still a couple of the kills spread out, but Alex putting in those numbers as well. We're heading this time to bar game as we'll see just how well this defense can hold. Obviously, Library, a very important part of the map, especially when you're talking about this site directly above you. You're going to want to watch that verticality and potentially have a player upstairs holding it. We'll see if that's going to be the case here for Zero Risk. But other than that, like the operators we're seeing, that Azami has certainly been a very fun addition to competitive here. It's always great to see what these players use her for.
Yeah, I love messing around with Zombie. There's so many cool things you can do with those Kiba barriers if once you start learning how they propagate and what you really want to block off. So it's going to be interesting here too to see what Outlast does. We've seen so many teams in this league go for a direct library push most of the time to their own demise here, but Zero Risk is opting not to bring Frost, who's been a mainstay on the site for most teams for so long now that it feels like you just almost have to have her, but she's not here on this round, so a library attack actually could be more effective here, but instead they're going to play it safe. They're going to go for a full clear on this side of the map, taking these initial gunfights to Mr. Alex Player, excuse me, Bubs of Zero Risk, just trying to clear them out here. A swing goes bad. Tomato able to collect on that. Very well played to just brute force an entry through kitchen.
Tomato absolutely doing what they need to there. Bubs, so unfortunate, hoping to find that early kill there, playing as that alibi and operator, gifted with a powerful SMG, but well, Tomato's got a powerful LMG there as well. That E goes crazy, 150 rounds. You still have Nurox upstairs waiting and ready, hoping to take down a couple of these drones and maybe a couple players trying to balance that power out a little bit more. Nightmare's already used 2 of those Finka boosts trying to get Tomato back up to around full HP. So just 1 left in the pocket. You can see a lot of these players now upstairs ready to try to swing on in, get some information out as well. It's Monster who will be holding the line defending these stairs.
And very noticeably, Monster is not the my player. That's Nurox. So there's no disc support coming out from the player behind the shield. So an EMP grenade should be able to take out just every bit of utility in that area. With the amount of explosives that are starting to rain through, you got to think that maybe that shield's gone. Nurox, though, from this Mezzi position, is able to grab 1, and Monster from Blue grabs a second. So this push is being stifled here. Outlast just not able to clear as much space as they needed to get themselves in. And now with that Mezzi shield still alive, the Hidoi is going to not be able to go through that window. He's just kind of stuck here, and especially with Angel as well. All of these players have just scrambling to find something to do with their time. Otherwise, they're just going to be walking into shields. Nurox grabbed a second before Tomato is able to drop him on this lobby angle, but it's a little bit too late at this point. They've got 30 seconds left, and they're just going to have to start dry peeking these angles, but Angel's so good right now. He almost grabs the second as well. Monster dropped low, but Azamo cleans up the round. And it's just the repeat of the start of last game, man. Everything that we do just goes back 1-1, back and forth. At this time, though, Zero Risk is able to get themselves the 1-round advantage going into round number 4.
Absolutely phenomenal from Zero Risk. They're turning it around. I mean, this is their map pick, right? I mean, if they're going to turn it around, it's here. So that's great to see. Obviously, they had a little bit of a tough round 1 defense, but I mean, since then, they've been able to put on that pressure a little bit more, showing us what we need to see. and I'm liking it. Right now, it feels like they're able to take a couple of those blows. We saw that early kill coming through from the Zofia Tomato as well as Angel. Both went crazy that round, and still, it was all about the rest of the team, the rest of Zero Risk, able to put down that threat and find now 2 rounds in a row.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the biggest thing that's concerning to me is I was gassing up Outlast at how good they were in their coordination on Villa, and it's just hasn't translated really at all onto Chalet so far. They look very discoordinated. They're not timing their utility properly, and well, they're just losing bodies in space because of it. They're a team like Outlast. You're known for playing this map a lot, and you can't break Blue Shield without losing 2 people on it. That doesn't bode well for you on a map that you should be pretty well versed on, since I've seen you play it like 100 times. But yeah, they still have time in this game to adapt, but Zero Risk definitely coming out of the gate looking very well for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, both teams they've put in work, and there's no doubt about that. They've made it all the way into these playoffs. Both capable teams, so it's a big battle. And if you're thinking about Zero Risk, you're thinking about the position they're in just for the whole bracket right now. They're one map loss away from being sent to the lower bracket and having to fight their way through the slums of being a loot. But you never want to fall down to the lower bracket. They're fighting to stay in this series, but also to stay in this upper bracket and keep on pushing, keep on fighting. That might be fueling them a little bit more, especially considering that they are on their map pick. They know how this works, they know what to do. We'll have to see if that continues, because Outlast, they were a team that exploded into the second half of this, into Villa rather, and that could be a similar situation here. It's all up in the cards right now. We'll have to find out what Outlast can do on this fourth attack.
Yeah, I actually think you brought up a great point there, that this is Zero Risk's map pick, and they're definitely playing like it, right? Just that confidence is back in their plays. You can feel it. It's like the start of Villa for them. They were holding their own and sometimes being better. Oh, we're back into the game. Never mind. This Bubs gets the opening pick on the Tomato. I will shut up now.
Just absolutely nailing that Zofia. She was so good on the entry last time. So it's great to see Bubs get the revenge kill. It's a little bit of a little bit of a competition between these two. Monster taking a little bit of damage as well, but overall, a lot of bullets being put back into Zero Risk. They need to be careful about that. There's no good way to boost yourself back up. The Fink, on the other hand, still up and at him, and a little bit of information given by some of those default cameras. Zero Risk, they're still sitting pretty, but I'm worried about the chip damage over time. That could affect them as the round goes on.
Yeah, kitchen defense here too is one of the biggest factors for the defenders here, is just how low the clock can go. The hatch is reinforced here for Zero Risk, so these players upstairs, Monster and Mr. Alex player, aren't going to be able to get back to site should that be required of them. And while Outlast, with given the time, they're going to have to just go for the cheater clear here. They're going to open up this main wall, and they're going to play very passive long angles to try and deny Zero Risk from being able to contest vertically for the execute coming out. But it's almost always not enough to deny the verticality. You need to use the verticality to push the defenders around. And Zero Risk is in a position right now where they can play really wherever they want, uncontested on the site, but they're choosing to live 3 people upstairs. That's so much investment into the space, and it could pay off dividends for them if Outlast continues to stall.
Well, with under a minute to go, you've got to get that move on. You can't stall forever. Bubs taking quite a bit of damage. Comes out on top against Hidoy, though, and Angel pushing downstairs. It's going to be Nurox who falls to that Thermite. The plant is being attempted here. Spud holding another angle, making sure he's covered. Bubs falls. Nightmare onto Alzamo, and it's all falling the other way. Alex, though, evens the count. But the plant didn't go down. Spudsack right back onto Monster. 29 seconds to go, but it'll all be finished off as Nightmare gets the spray on, finishes the round. And a really good stoppage from Outlast. They needed to do that. And we'll have a nice 2-2 game heading into round number 5.
Yeah, I gotta give some credit back to Outlast, right? I was slandering their name just a little bit in that pause, but they bucked a very hard round to win. They lost that opening pick. They weren't be able to aggress upstairs to get the verticality that they would have wanted, but they didn't matter because Nightmare found a pocket into the site, cleaned up all of the site players, and 1 reverse vertical angles back up on top of them. That's just some incredible individual plays from Nightmare and just the rest of the team too, to find those openings to get in. And it's not what you want to rely on in Rainbow Six. You don't want to rely on those clutch plays, those heroic players. You want to win rounds consistently just through through utility usage, on knowledge of the map, and forcing people around to just make them do your bidding, essentially. And that didn't happen on Kitchen. It's a very awkward site to make it happen on, sure, but it is a good recovery for them to be able to put a brick wall in front of the momentum, at least for that round, and get themselves a second round. As we go back to basement, it is the first site we saw Zero Risk take the dub on, but it was 50-50. They did lose it the first time they were down here, and Outlast, maybe they out adapted themselves on that previous attack. So it's on them to kind of go back to what worked the first time. Keep it simple, stupid. Apply Kiss.
I mean, they really did change it up so much on that second attacking round on this site. Alex has already taken a ton of damage, right around 50 HP now. Not exactly sure from what. Maybe a peek gone wrong. Some aggressiveness could have been the cause of that. Nurox is sitting right by that piano as well, waiting and ready to try to stave off some of the pushes here. Always so terrifying to be the first contact here, trying to make sure that you're going to be safe, make sure you're going to be okay, and waste that time, get a couple of kills potentially. But either way, Outlast again, they're taking their good old time heading into this round.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of have to. Look at how they're attacking the site. It's this very similar to how they attacked it when they lost it on round number 2. They're taking full upstairs control, or at least half of it, but with these players stepping into bathroom, they're clearing all the way through to Solar. They're going to try and clear Alex player out and work their way down main stairs. It's that pivotal position that we saw just get reverse vertical out of, but this time it goes a little bit better for them. Tomato is going to get the opening kill onto Nurox, so a lot more space grabbed here without giving up quite as much, but players like Alzamo are finding pockets to just sneak back up, and if Outlast isn't aware of this possibility, it could spell disaster for them.
So far, nobody coming into that line of sight as of yet. You see a couple of those silhouettes just above him, but Monster playing on that Thorn. You've got Bubs holding on to the shield, looking towards those stairs. They're ready for this push to come in. Nightmare does not have, I believe, no, on the drone, so very well could have a couple of those, two of those boosts left up for the Finka. So Tomato is going to be on that low HP, but not for too long, potentially waiting until it's a little bit more dire straits for the rest of the squad before they start pumping them back up. Zero Risk, they really need to get a couple of kills here, try to even it out, but right now it looks like they're just going to be pretty passive, waiting for Outlast to come to them, which could be a good idea, or it could absolutely blow up in their faces. The power that Outlast can bring, especially with a man advantage time running down, is not something I would think too lightly of. 35 on the clock.
Yeah, Outlast does have everything that they want opened though, so giving them extra time to really freely figure out where these defenders are, to sledge open more of this floor, could be their undoing here for Zero Risk, just letting them spread out on this map. Look at how far apart they are. Angel over back and Trench grabs one. This Tomato player as well on blue stairs, just really denying so much space, but they made a gap, and Mr. Alex player exploits it, runs up west main stairs, and with 8 seconds left, the diffuser's down in main lobby. He grabs a second one too. Tomato can't recover it. He grabs a third, just pulling off heroic scenes, just standing out in the middle of main lobby there. Single-handedly wins the round by walking up west main stairs. You're gonna take your time, sure, but Mr. Alex Slayer found an opening and he wins the round through it.
Oh my goodness, those little hero plays just get you going, don't they? Zero Risk find themselves another round, and on the defense, this is looking pretty dang good. Chalet can go a little bit more attacking sided at times, maybe a little bit more even. Who's to say? But Zero Risk putting in the work on this defense, doing a great job as we head back to Bar Gaming. They've completely avoided heading upstairs to Master Bedroom. They opted instead to go to Kitchen as that tertiary bomb site. But upstairs to Bar, last time we saw it, they were able to take a nice victory on this despite losing a player early on. Zero Risk, they've got a great opportunity to jump up 4-2 in this map and keep the pressure on. We do see the Aruni being shown or taken out here by Nurox as well as at Azami. A lot of players here. A lot of A operators with the Alibi, Azami, and Aruni. Good grief. AAA coming to tow your car back or something. We'll see how well it'll work as we head in to round number 6.
Yeah, look at the operators from Outlast too. I've actually studied this attack from them a little bit because I thought it was interesting. They're bringing out the Sens, an operator that doesn't see a whole lot of play, mainly just because their gadget is a little unpredictable. The way it bounces, not the most reliable thing in the world, but when you combine it with the Capitao and you just take this library space, you can really deny a lot of line of sights and just places to play with those fire bolts from Capitao. You can essentially free yourself up to jump in the site window when you normally wouldn't be able to here. So Outlast really trying to avoid the mistakes they made previously by just taking through library, and Zero Risk looks a little bit not set up for it. Mr. Alex player playing in that library cubby instead of in that tucked library corner that you'd normally expect that player to be in. Not going to be able to really help these players defending this library.
Yeah, it's going to be Nuroxed sitting. Look at this. I love the EBR. It was fun to see a nice little DMR, and it can be used so well. We've seen a lot of opportunities for it to come through, but the plant now being attempted by Angel already on side. Tomato takes down Alzamuts. Nurox back with Tomato, but Monster and Bubs both find kills. A 4v2. The plant is down, but do they have the operators there to defend it? A nade tossed back through as well. Hidoy watching and waiting. Spud takes down Nurox and now has that vertical angle. Hidoy evens the man count 2-2. Alex and Bubs left alone. Spud upstairs is so dangerous, someone to worry about. And Hidoy from below, it's going to be Spud trying to figure this one out. Angel does get another kill posthumously, and now with just 14 seconds to go, Mr. Alex needs to get this done. However, with Hidoy waiting and watching, there's just no way. The peak will come and the death is there. A round win from Outlast, the plant going down before I could even register it.
Yeah, it's that attack that I was talking about. They threw all of the sense walls. You dump your Capitao utility. You jump in and plant. You can't see anything. Some of the most common spots are mollies, so you're running around from that, and just some really good coverage being there from Outlast to put that box on the ground. It's something that Outlast has done before too. So if you prepped for this game, you picked Chalet too. You knew you were coming here. You should understand that that is something Outlast likes to do. But now we get to see Outlast's attempt at the defense here, and they're going to start in the basement as well. Both of these teams really favoring this bomb site, which is a little surprising just considering its overall stats. Obviously, it had a great season in the NAL, at least in stage 2. I think it went 9 out of its 10 plays there. But historically, it's not been that great of a site here, so hopefully Outlast can kind of buck the historical trends a little bit more and thrive in that environment of just high anarchy, high pressure, go, 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 and lift the operators that they're bringing here, notably Bandit, Alibi, Vigil, just a bunch of operators that want to get in your face, and then you have the Goyo to really deny the late execute here as well. It's a very well-rounded lineup from Outlast to slow Zero Risk down at every possible entrance.
Really like that. Obviously, the roam game is going to be so strong. Tomato just putting on a show over and over again. An Angel now with 8 kills. Hidoy onto that Alibi. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. Zero Risk with their attacking operators that bring out quite a bit of soft destruction with the Sledge alongside the Buck. Of course, Yana has been much more of a staple operator these days. That intelligence as well as the nade she can bring to the table. So good. And Bubs back onto the legendary think a little bit of hard breach comes through as well. Not a bad look for Zero Risk, but I'm really interested to see how Outlast defense will play with this attacking lineup. Obviously, a lot of pressure could be applied early on with a couple of those roamers, and it looks more like that top-down take is going to be in effect here. Outlast Academy, this is their chance to start really running away. The same with Zero Risk, switching the sides. There could be a momentum shift here as Monster has a good idea of where one player is, but does he know about the other just a few feet to his right?
Doesn't look like that information has been provided just yet, but those yellow pings definitely giving away the positions of one of these Outlast players. But I love the call tier too. They were playing upstairs. They had some setup, but they were being attacked directly, so they just gave it up. They're choosing to exist for longer, and Tomato will exist no more as Alzamo finds it on a very nice tight angle there. Just the Thermite players today going huge for some reason, and and you love to see something like that happen here. With the pressure mounting here on Nightmare, you feel like he might give up this space soon. Half the round is gone. He's being droned out as well. Players running at him from above. Nade's being cooked on the hatch. He's gonna drop out finally, but there's a player there to catch him. Barely sneaking away with his life. Nightmare committing a couple of crimes there, but he doesn't have to pay just yet.
Well, there goes the first Goyo canister, lighting up the stage for just a couple of seconds here. 20 that can really waste time. Hidoi still upstairs, or excuse me, downstairs, rotating around by that pool table, hoping to catch someone late. Angel holding a shield as well. Outlast, they've got the good defense core set up, but the man advantage goes to Zero Risk, and Spud seems to be potentially in a little bit of trouble as well, playing as that Goyo Zero. They're set up, ready to go. Angel getting flashed out a little bit. Time begins to tick down. 40 seconds to go. And a nade from Alex absolutely obliterates Angel. The plant being attempted by Alzamo. Nightmare tries to peek back out. Might be able to swing around, find something, but he's almost blocked by his own flames. And it'll be Nurox getting the kill. Spud just about goes down. Still alive, still fighting with 40 seconds on the clock. Hidoi will be the final player standing. It could be another flawless round between these two teams. Hidoi does take the head off of Alzamo, but so much more to work there. The 1v4 with time ticking down. It looks like Zero Risk have pulled off this round, but we'll see just how far Hidoi can get. You can see those operators. They've rotated upstairs. They're holding all sorts of angles. One in the doorway, just waiting, and Nurox picks up that final kill.
Yeah, it's the big downside of basement, right? Once you're able to establish yourself in the building, it's so hard to keep the attackers out from Wine Cellar if they're coordinated. So it's very interesting that we've seen so much of that site. I think it's even more interesting that their answer to that round is to go to the other site that's not very popular on this map. We're going upstairs for Outlast's second defense here. I don't know how much I like that. Just the sheer aggression that Zero Risk showed on that attack, that unrelenting force to really clear out every space that they needed there. You're playing a site now where if you lose a single pivotal spot, I'm thinking piano or whatever Italian flair you gave it in that previous round. There's like 1 to 2 rooms that you have to hold on the site, and if you ever lose them, you just lose the round. So I don't know exactly what Outlast is thinking here. Maybe they just want to flip that aggression back onto Zero Risk, because this is a site where you can step off of it and take more aggressive gunfights pretty safely. But you've got to be able to make that work here, because you don't have much space to work with.
One of the things I was really noticing from Zero Risk back on map number 1 was how we had seen Alex as well as one other player go crazy and do pretty well, but the rest of the team just hadn't been there. This time, Zero Risk, a completely different story for them. All of them putting in the work. Alzamo, a little slow on that thermite, no big deal, but everybody that we see right now on Zero Risk, they are looking to get this done. Alex especially up to 9 kills. I mean, just outpacing most everybody from Outlast, and it's great to see from Zero Risk. They're finding some more of their pace, but they're not out of the woods yet. Outlast Academy, despite going to maybe not the most favorable bomb site, they're still a really good team. They've got really good guns, and we'll have to see if it can work out for them nonetheless. Zero Risk, they'd love to start pulling away at this point, but is that going to be the case?
Yeah, neither team's really pulled away this game. This is the equivalent of the largest advantage we've seen either team had. Nothing more than a 1-round lead happening at any point here. And Zero Risk is definitely in a spot to make that a little bit better for them. But Spudsack gets an actual 1-for-1 trade. They take the head off of each other there. But it's that aggression that's really good. He was playing off in the kind of a suicide position. You're never getting out of bar once you get in there. And being able to trade 1-for-1 with absolutely nothing there to help you is still a good play. And look at the operator he removed too. That's Buck gone. So there's no underneath verticality. These players on Outlast are going to be a lot more secure in their positions unless Mr. Alex Player and Nurox just start throwing nades at the ceiling.
Could very well be the case as well. Although we did see that mostly from Outlast back on Villa. A couple of those disgusting vertical nades that can really just put you out of commission here. Alzamo has now entered in just next to that wall heading into sight. Looking towards as well the basement, hoping no roamers come up and ruin anybody's day. We still need a couple of things happen before we actually get that execute going on, and that nade sails through. The opening is going to be available. Alzamo gets the thermite exothermic on the wall, and they're ready to pop that open.
Yeah, this is kind of the beginning of the end here of the round, at least. But very notably, Piano has not been cleared yet for Zero Risk. And this is that other win condition that I was kind of talking about at the start of the round. Players in Piano are able to deny plant, as are these players underneath. But the players underneath kind of rotated back up, except for that one player that Mr. Alex Player is going to pick up. So the underside of the map completely cleared out now. And you see Alzamo pivoting as well towards Canine Door. He recognizes that, well, going for default plant here might be the only way they lose here, because a player here, a piano like Tomato could win the round by just denying your plant here too. And with the clock starting to tick away, these players are going to have to move forward. And that smoke canister, not even the last one, Tomato has one more, is going to slow them down. But Azamo picks up one to bring the tempo back in their favor. The last smoke canister comes out right onto that default plant, and the head gets torn off of Bubs. The smoke canister actually misses. It landed on the half wall, not past it. So Azamo is going to be able to get the plant down here, and Tomato gets dropped as well. It's now Nightmare with almost no health to his name, left in a 1v2, and this is one of the hardest things you can do in the game to look at all of the angles he has to check, and Mr. Alex player exists in that darkness and wins the round here for Zero Risk, and that's a 2-round lead now for them.
Great job from Zero Risk. They're doing exactly what they need to do. They've switched onto this second side, onto this attacking side, and they're not letting go. The Outlast Academy timeout comes in pretty good timing, right? I mean, now is when you start to get a little bit worried. Zero Risk, they're 1 round away from putting you into a very difficult situation, a situation that Outlast was able to put Zero Risk in back on Villa. The sides certainly have switched, and maybe it's just because of whose map picks it has been and whose map pick it now is. Zero Risk, they're doing a great job.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to what you were talking about on Villa too, and that difference in this map. The other players on Zero Risk are finally starting to get themselves onto the scoreboard. And even Elzamo, he's only got 3 kills, but he's got a 0.5 KD. He's planted the diffuser quite a few number of times here for Zero Risk, and just his utility usage as well has been very on par. Just the drones that you see them getting intel off of, the thermite holes that he's choosing to open, when he's choosing to open them, all of that decision making is really shining forth. And he did get the opening kill for them, I believe, once. So he's definitely still contributing here, and it's kind of hard to grab kills when you have a player like Mr. Alex player going 12-4. But yeah, all of these players on Zero Risk kind of awake now and really making their teamwork and coordination go shine for them, especially since Outlast is kind of struggling with that. It's not something they're really known for. They're not known for struggling on their coordination. I mean, heck, they pulled off a plant in round number 6 where they just dumped utility and jumped in, and that's not something you can do without coordinating to some degree. And they're choosing to run it back on the site they just got very much so clapped off the map on. They're running it back upstairs.
Are indeed. And that's something that might not work out very well. Now, it did get close, right? You were mentioning that piano player who was just being a menace, denying the plant for a good majority of the round, and had the smoke canister landed in a good spot, maybe it would have been a different story, but nonetheless, Zero Risk, they prevailed. They got through despite having the opening kill come from Outlast. So we'll see what happens. Looking at the operator lineup on that defense, you do have the Kite coming out as well as the Valkyrie, a couple of those C4 bricks, and a couple of shields too. That will going to be the main denier of any projectiles. I believe switching off of the Jaeger that we've previously seen. Either way about it, Outlast, they know the importance of this round, and they are coming off that timeout. So they should have talked about this. They had a good 60 seconds to communicate within themselves, and this is where they're planning to go. This is what they're planning to do. We'll see how well it works.
Yeah, hopefully that smoke canister doesn't miss this time too. I know as a smoke player myself, it pains me every time I think about the fact that one of the devs at Ubisoft put just a little bit of a lip on that half wall. So because of that, the smoke actually can't propagate over it. So you have to throw it over the half wall to get it on the default plant spot here. Spudsec being contested very early, but Nightmare is able to actually pick up the opening pick here. Look at all of these players, and Nurox just completely unaware from where he's being shot from. So Outlast grabs himself an incredible opening here off of that pause, just choosing to deny the entrances from Zero Risk, and well, right now it's paying off dividends.
It's so hard to try to come back from a round where within a minute you've already lost 2 players, 2 very important operators as well. Monster was one of the opening picks from that previous round. They were still able to come through, but Nurox was someone who was able to hold off a little bit longer using that Yana. Now you've got to be able to get these kills in. You've got to be able to find something, but what Outlast Academy can now do is they don't have to play so far and wide. They can start to come back a little bit. Alzamo, though, picks up 1. Spudsack will fall. Angel now on the ground, but Bubs bleeding out. It's actually Alex taking down Angel there. So potentially the 3v3. Bubs doesn't seem to be able to quite self-revive yet, but there's the boost getting picked up and then boosted up rather. So a 3v3 with just a minute to go. Zero Risk, they found a way to even that 3-3 now, and they're going to try to continue to push it.
Yeah, Outlast getting over aggressive from their position. They had such a large advantage, and they did it so early on, too. So now Zero Risk is really able to stabilize their position here, and their hard breacher is very notably still left up. So Azalmo is going to be able to open these walls for them. So it's not an incredibly dire situation, although it gets significantly worse with that pick there from Tomato. He's still existing here out by that cubby short elbow area, and Hadoy singing one out as well means that it's just all onto that hard breacher that I was just talking about. Azalmo now left alone outside of that canine balcony. He's being smoked at as well, and with 30 seconds left, he's just going to have to start dry peeking these angles, and, well, dry peeking into the shield is not on my priority list of things I want to do before I go out here in a game of Rainbow Six Siege, and the clock's starting to tick away. He's going to have to swing wide here. There's a shield. He gets double swung, and there he goes. Tomato grabbing the last pick there. A very good recovery from Outlast. It got a little shaky in the middle, just a little bit of overextensions there, but they definitely looked better at the start, just right off the rip, being able to heal a lot of those wounds that they were letting bleed through on the previous round.
Well, either way about it, Outlast Academy being able to come out and find that round win is exactly what they needed to do. A great finish to the round, and like you said, Zero Risk, they put up a good fight, evening that man count, but the damage had been done and it continued to be dealt with as Outlast Academy are one round away from putting this in a 5-5 scoreline. Zero Risk still have that round advantage. They can still push it all the way to map point. It's not Outlast Academy being out of the woods quite yet, but they do have a chance to go now to a different side and try to defend somewhere maybe a little bit more reasonable here, and we'll see what they can do. Again, those operators are looking fairly similar. You do have that Azami being brought out this time. The alibi continues to persist, but it's the Kaid who's been taken out, not as necessary when defending downstairs into Bar.
Yeah, it's good to see Bar being brought out. I think it's still one of the better sets on the map. Obviously, it's been played out so much now that the attackers should have a good finger on the pulse of what's going on here, but Outlast is able to put their own spin on it, most notably, I think, with Azami in combination with Valkyrie. Valk, not really a common operator on this site. I think most notably due to the fact that these upstairs players are not really roaming. They're just kind of holding their position upstairs in a spots where they can deny quickly into the site should any rush try to come out. But these Valcams kind of just feeding off where the push is coming from and really just going to be able to tell where any last second rotations are coming from for the attackers here. About 30 seconds down, Zero Risk just getting themselves into position here as they're going for a very normal take. The Buck, I think, is going to have an incredibly high priority here, being able to hard breach open any walls. That
Oh my.
Never mind, Monster's gone again. He's the opening kill, the victim of it 3 rounds in a row. What a shot from Nightmare.
That's so unfortunate. I believe a couple of them have been from Nightmare as well onto Monster. Ugh, it feels so bad. Poor Buck getting absolutely nailed round after round. And that's again Zero Risk having to play with a man disadvantage, and Buck can be so important with that verticality, being able to open up those holes from above. Now it's going to be Mr. Alex. The sole responsibility of soft breaching is in his hands, but Mr. Alex is certainly somebody who can get that done. Nurox looking towards another angle as well. Droning still happening. A lot of time has passed, but Mr. Alex passes his time by taking out Alibi back to the 4v4.
Yeah, these players from Zero Risk are very split apart on the map right now, and they haven't cleared this upstairs extension from Outlast, and that could be their downfall here as we continue to let the clock tick away. It's some very nice holes opened up on the floor there to allow Tomato to smoke that piano double area. I believe it got renamed to Lemon Hall yesterday, so just being able to throw smokes up into that space and really just slow them down even further could be very detrimental here against Zero Risk, with just how much time they're stalling out here. They're really just continuing to bleed seconds. These utility thrown out from Zero Risk, not able to dislodge anyone. Spudsack still able to exist in that position. The Yana clone coming out, not able to find much, but the Habana swing does. Alzamo's now just directly into the site. These players from Outlast are now starting to rotate back towards the site. Angel grabs one though, so little to the push stifled. These upstairs players not dealt with, and Spudsack shows why you've got to clear them. Nurex is going to be dropped. These last players here from Zero Risk trying to find whatever they can, but the upstairs push a little bit mistimed, and we get a brief respite here with Outlast and man advantage.
30 seconds to go, Bubs. Playing on that Finkin, Mr. Alex. hoping to do some work here as well. You can see a couple of those operators just on top of those stairs, but with time running down, that's the big issue. Alex does have the case, can try to get their way in and put that down, but there's so many angles you've got to look out for. Nade being tossed by Bubs, won't be able to quite find anybody, and still it's Angel continuing to be such a menace. Alex, with no time to get anything done, rushes into sight, but it's all too late, and the game is tied at 5-5.
Yeah, I'm a little confused as to what that was from Zero Risk. Just splitting up all of your players like that, it normally means that you can control more of the map, but on Bar specifically, it just means you don't have enough utility to actually break those shields upstairs. And when you can't push past that shield line, you can't get into the site. You saw it with the angles Spudsack was playing there, just being able to shoot Hidoy as he, or not Hidoy, Hidoy's on Outlast, excuse me, just being able to shoot Nurox as he was running through into the site, just being able to use that verticality against them here. And Outlast is going to give us a grand tour of the map. This is the 4th site that they've played in 5 rounds, so they're confident enough on this map to go to every site, and I actually think this is the right site to pick in this situation. They can either go basement or here. Basement didn't pan out very well for you here, and Zero Risk is just very slow attacking today, so take them to a site that requires they clear a lot of the map and just kind of punish them for playing slowly.
Both teams, again, have been pretty joined at the hip throughout this map. I mean, a couple rounds every now and again, you'll see one team start to pull away, and twice that was Zero Risk trying to create a little bit of a distance, but Outlast Academy always able to catch up, and now we're very close to getting to a potential overtime here, or just the end of the game within 2 rounds, depending on who's able to take those 2. Zero Risk heading in again. You've got Monster on that buck. I'd love to see him survive a little bit longer into the round, make a little bit more of an impact, not being the opening kill, and some little information's being given out by Alex using that drone hole, getting a good idea as to where everyone will be playing, attacking into this kitchen site. They're going to throw a nade. Does that catch him? Yes, it does.
no.
Alex with a drone hole nade.
Oh no, you know he practiced that at some point in a custom just by himself. But it works out. You gotta do little things like that to get advantages, especially when the game is as close as it is here. That's a great pick to find too. Most notably because it's a nitro cell off the table. These players from Outlast are still thriving upstairs. Look at Hidoy's position too. He's ready to take a swing out into the hallway, but he does get droned out on him, so that's good due diligence there by Zero Risk to understand that that is an angle that the Outlast might go for here. And Zero Risk kind of needs to move a little bit faster here. We're a minute down and they haven't really pushed any of these players out upstairs. With the Zama opening that wall, we're finally going to see some progress being made.
Here we go. Still around half this time to go. These defenders, they're holding out. They're ready. The Echo using those yokai drones, trying to position them in really nice spots and just get some kind of advantage. A lot of drones have been thrown out at Hidoy, continuing to hold that angle. Takes a little bit of damage. None dished back out to Zero Risk as of yet, and with all 3 of those Finka boosts left and a minute and 15 to go, you can bet that they're feeling very confident about their chances here, but still a lot of these operators that Outlast has brought to this round, they can be such good round deniers. Bubs onto Hidoy, takes out that Valkyrie. Spudsack takes an incredible amount of damage as well. We'll have to see if time continues to drip down like this. Do these 3 defenders have what it takes to hold it off long enough for those smoke canisters and those yokai drones to be really, really big proponents to them?
Yeah, I think you nailed it right there. Tomato and Nightmare are the win condition for Outlast here. Yeah, Spudsack could go huge, but he gets fried by Monster, who's finally done with being the opening kill here. And if these 2 smoke canisters can slow the plant down by even just another 20 seconds, the clock is so low right now. That's not where you want the smoke canister to go, though, Tomato. You got to get it actually through into the dining spot on the side of the map. Some shots coming out here from Nightmare. He's going to miss those, and he's going to let the player stand back up, but Azamu does get dropped, and now he's the last man standing. He does get 1 bearing kill, actually, but Mr. Alex player is able to shut that down, and now we get match point for Zero Risk here. And with how close this game is going, man, we could actually see a good slice of that infinite overtime.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, this attacking half has been very, very back and forth, very charged, and Zero Risk, they find themselves at that point. They do not want to go to overtime. They are ready to close this map and get moving on to Clubhouse, but there's just that feeling, that little tingly that Outlast Academy, they could get this done, and they're going to head right back to kitchen. They think that they can get this done and they can do it better than last. Looking at the operator lineup, I believe it's just about a carbon copy, except the Azami's taken out for the Jaeger. So Spudsack playing onto that operator instead. We'll see if that's going to be the key here. We saw Tomato and Nightmare. Like you mentioned, those were the win conditions, but I just don't think Outlast held off long enough that there was still enough time for Zero Risk to develop their attack. And when that execute started happening, they had already lost so many players that it just didn't work out. You couldn't even take a look at the Yokai drone. There was no chance of denying a plat there. He had to be with his MP5 ready to fight. And because of that, Zero Risk took the round win. Now they just need one more.
Yeah, definitely bleeding that man advantage early kind of spelled disaster for Outlast in that previous round. And at least a little bit of that you should be able to fix by very simply not standing next to that drone hole that, Mr. Alex player might just continue chucking nades through here. And this is one of those plays, right? When this play works, when throwing the nade through the drone hole works, it's such an insane advantage that you get for your team. But because you have the confidence on it now, you try and going for it again, and now you're just burning your own time and utility to get nothing out of it. That nade grabs about 10 damage onto Angel, and look at how much time and utility he's wasting out here. This is his second drone on the angle. He's already burnt a nade, and he's not going to be able to get value from it. So Mr. Alex player kind of playing mental games against himself here. It's that self-mental chess, and he's not really playing for either team here. He's just doing his own thing and hoping it works.
It's you can get into that mental state easily, right? Feeling like you can do it again, but obviously Outlast Academy, they learn, they know what to do, they know how to evade and avoid getting naded twice in a row. So with already a minute and 10 seconds bled dry, Alzamo looking furiously for any black eyes, just checking those rafters. A lot of different hiding places that those cameras could be placed, and drones continuing to go out for Mr. Alex. Alex has still gone above and beyond, 16-5, no doubt about it. He is a fragger, but still, Outlast Academy, they've got so many players who can jump at you. Angel and Tomato both up to 10 kills, and it's a C4. We watched that baby sail
Not
right over the
again.
wall. And it's
Not
Monster again.
Monster's just being bullied, man. They're throwing nitros at him now too. But look at this attack from Zero Risk. They're taking so long, and they haven't opened this upstairs office wall either. So they really don't have much map control to their name here. I'm sorry, I do stand corrected. They did open the office wall, but that's it. These players from Outlast are still existing up here. There's 3 of them on this angle, and look at the time too. Tomato hasn't thrown any of those smoke canisters, and both Echo drones are still alive, so they're very much so a win condition for this round here, especially considering that Zero Risk is still stalling out, and we're in double digits on the clock.
Oh, with 45 to go, you really got to get that move. Alex does find Spudsack, and Spud is somebody to take down, no doubt about that. But again, so much utility is going to be an issue here. That's a fight, but it's lost against Hadoy. Oh, my goodness, somehow survives with that Valkyrie, and just the odds are stacking up against Zero Risk, and they are stacking towards an overtime play. 22 seconds quickly ticking down. Angel onto Alzamo. Alex and Bubs are now just gonna have to sail right into sight and hope that somehow, some way, they can put the box down, of which they don't even have possession of. This round looks like an Outlast win, and it looks like we'll be going into that overtime. Alex taking damage, but the real damage was the time all along.
Maybe the real damage was the friends we made along the way. Yeah, just a little too slow on the clock there. We are going to see overtime, and what a map to see it on here too. We saw a 2-round advantage come out once this game. Only one time has a team been able to get 2 rounds ahead of the other, and we do have infinite overtime on the cards here. And I think it's also very notable that both teams going 3-3, so there's not really a preferred side to be on here. So Zero Risk doesn't inherently have an advantage for starting defense or Outlast on the attack. They're going to just have to make do with what they have here, and now every round matters. You've got to win everything because, well, you can win everything, and teams have been winning back and forth here too. And I think it's also very notable that we're going back to the old ranked rule set here for overtime. You switch every round, and having to get into that mental context of flipping back and forth potentially indefinitely can be a very daunting thing to do for some teams that just aren't used to it.
This is going to be so exciting. We'll see how far we can go, because that point you made, how close it's been, I mean, there's no doubt about it. We could see this go for a while. The question is, how far does it go? Outlast, they've been a team that can definitely power up, and right now a lot of their players, they're putting in that work, but just the same from Zero Risk. The biggest difference is right now, Alex has been more of that hero player. He's been above and beyond anyone else in the entire lobby, and especially on his team. If we lose Alex, if Alex isn't as poignant or as potent as we've seen him before, that could be a fall for Zero Risk. We'll have to have a lot of eyes on the rest of the team as well to see how everything develops.
Yeah, 30 seconds into the round here, and it is a basement defense from Zero Risk, and Outlast is going for that same attack that they went for the last two times they attacked this site, and it's the two times that they lost this site. They're just trying to bite off more than they can chew, and this time they're going to start it off significantly better. Hadoi's going to get the opening pick, surprisingly not onto Monster, so that's a little bit of a shakeup, and maybe Monster's going to be able to go huge here for them just by just being allowed to exist a little bit longer.
That very well could be the case. Bubs has done some pretty good things, and especially taking off the Wamai early on is great for Outlast. That's going to be less and less denial that Zero Risk can create. But Monster still below. It's actually Spud taking down Alex. Monster takes an incredible amount of damage. And Outlast Academy are just looking so strong, especially as Elzamo now falls to Hidoi. Monster and Nurox. Oh, they've got so much work to do. Nurox might be able to find one. He does ahead of Hidoi. Disappears into a fine miss, but he's not out of the woods yet. A couple of bullet holes being sprayed through that wall, and Monster swings upstairs, is quickly finished off, and it'll be Tomato finding Nurox as well. A really successful round win coming out from Outlast.
Yeah, it really is just an overcommitment there from Zero Risk, right? They thought to themselves, how did we win the previous times we were down here? Oh, I know. We just took those gunfights upstairs. And at one point, they committed all 5 members of the defense to that kitchen side of the map, and some to the bar, excuse me. But it doesn't work out as well. You can't really play kitchen if you don't have it set up. It's just asking to be fragged out through those walls, through that utility there, and Hadoi being able to brute force that space really shines forward for Outlast there, getting that opening pick and then just letting the team demolish through the rest of them. Look at the kill spread, by the way, on Outlast. It's just so incredibly close, 7-12. That's the kind of spread that you're looking for here. You don't necessarily want what Zero Risk got. You got that 5-17, a 12 kill difference between your top and bottom. Obviously, Alex player is just having a lights out game, so you can't say that as a negative thing, of course. But the players from Outlast are just all so consistent, and they can all pop off at any given moment, and that's just letting them get small advantages here as they look to end this game within what would be a normal overtime. If Zero Risk does win this round, we get at least one bonus round here from the Infinite OT.
At least around 16. That's the goal and hope here for Zero Risk, is to try to knock this out as soon as possible. Outlast, like you said, the ability for any one of those players to just jump on and go crazy, that is such a gem that Outlast can use here. And for Zero Risk, we'll see if they can do anything in a similar fashion. We need to be able to see that happen. But what I've noticed is a lot of these rounds that we've seen, in fact, most of them have been Outlast finding the opening kill. They are putting themselves in such a good positions early on into the round. A lot of times it is against our dear friend Monster, who is hunting his way upstairs from that basement, hoping to maybe find anyone lacking early on. But without a doubt, Outlast Academy, they've been just putting on a masterclass of putting yourself into a great situation early on into the round. And a lot of times that does pay dividends. Hidoi, though, takes quite a bit of damage. 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, they're still putting themselves into good positions, just this time without getting kills. Well, until Nightmare chimes in and grabs another opening kit for Outlast. They've gotten so many, at least since they started their defensive half here, as you highlighted. But the clock is dwindling away. This one player in a reinforcement top Mezzi has burnt 1 minute and 20 seconds of the round without really being cleared out of the angle until Bubs is able to find him. So he does go down, but that's so much time gone, and Monster dropped out as well. So he's not going to be a factor here. And it's once again that buck for their upstairs take. We haven't been able to see what they want to do with the buck because he keeps dying before they're able to show why they're picking him. So it's a little bit unfortunate to see that come through. But look at the clock. Piano hasn't even been looked at yet, and we're almost into the last minute of the round.
Oh, Outlast Academy, they are very keen to just sit and wait. Nurox hoping to move in, but Angel finds the kill onto Elzamo, and you can start to see some writing appear on this wall. You did have that wall opened up. Nades can be tossed through, but again, that essential point, that big old piano, is going to be a problem with under a minute to go. You do have a couple of nades left. Actually, you have 6 nades left, so quite a few. All the nades you brought are still up, and they're going to have to be used just perfectly here. You don't have a lot of time. You don't have much room at all for mistakes, and in fact, you still don't have the case. That Spudsack taking down Alex, Nurox, and Bubs, the final 2 hopes to keep Zero Risk in this game.
Yeah, they have so much work to do in front of them. They could win the round without seeing anyone if all of the nades land accordingly, but as some of these ADSs still remain uncleared, that piano space that just wasn't cleared out, and it's going to punish them for it. Nightmare grabs one. Bubs, he's had a pretty good game so far, but he's going to have to go legendary if he wants to give Zero Risk another shot, and they're not going to get it. Nightmare makes it so that Outlast wins in the first part of overtime. That's such a great way for them to close it out. It was a little messy there towards the start, but just like on Villa, Outlast Academy is just very good at clearing out the map, growing into the game, and shutting it down before it can get away from them.
They absolutely took it out, right? We had that overtime. We were hoping we would see maybe a little bit more of the infinite overtime. In fact, we really didn't even get to any infinite things. But again, those opening picks, I really quick just ran through 4 out of the 14 rounds that we saw. 4 opening picks went to Zero Risk. The rest were all Outlast. They just put themselves in that great position early on, and well, you could tell it works out. So amazing job from Outlast. They will be advancing to take on Valence later on.
2 a.m. Bodies hanging at the banks. Drive me to the nearest liquor store to celebrate again. Oh, it's all mine, mine, and good is mine. It's all mine, mine, and good is mine.
Hold up, wait a minute, stop. I don't even need you anymore, I'm on the top. I've been on a roll, you've been on a drop. I can't give you lessons and this shit is hard rock. This ain't new to me. She just sent 140 notes to me. Dripping YSL, these bitches using me. I can't give a damn cause I've been through the rain.
I seen you put the lipstick in the Prada, you moving on the floor. Nice, young, and the vibe is electric. The bankroll at my door.
I feel my senses overload, wildin' cause I broke the mold. Really in this business of investing where I win the most. Cruising when it's 2 a.m. Bodies hanging at the bangs. Drive me to the nearest liquor store to celebrate again. Oh, it's so
I need you, baby. Cause I need you, baby.
if you text and say you need me, even if it ain't real, you're just missing me. I'll be on the way, we'll spin and get it free. I'll be here, spending time on the white sheets. We ain't tired, but act like we need to sleep. Then I think about your body, feel your fantasies. We don't sleep, we can't sleep. Split highs with you, in the bed, in the pool. Moods on too. Tell me what you need, cause I need you, baby. I'll set the cards to red. Temperature 68, a bed made for two. Say what you need, cause I need you, baby. I can make it like a dream for you, like a fantasy that just came true. Right night feeling when you say ooh, la 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 la. I'ma label you from the left side, keep you close, corner for the whole night. No, you know because it feels like ooh, la 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 la.
Got this mood, I'm so mesmerized. You take me somewhere new. Can you pause the night and postpone the sunrise? Cause every time I feel your kiss, the dose of your lips increase. Split highs with you, in the bed, in the pool. Ooh, it's all in tune. Tell me what you need, cause I need you, baby. Sip the color to red, temperature 68. Red made for two. Say what you need, cause I need you, baby.
I can make it like a dream for you, like a fantasy that just came true. Right night feeling when you say ooh, la 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 la. I'ma label you from the left side, keep you close, corner for the whole night. No, you know because it feels like ooh, la 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 la. I can make it like a dream for you, like a fantasy that just came true. Right night feeling when you say ooh, la 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 la. I'ma label you from the left side, keep you close, corner for the whole night. No, you know because it feels like ooh, la 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 la. When I think about it, ooh. When I think about it, ooh.
Cause I'm drowning in something and I can't come out. Just show me loving, I need loving. Me, myself, ain't enough. It's like being a dog to a crushing heart. I want you to know how bad it hurts. You got me beside along my heart. Oh, 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 are you dreaming of me now? The way I do. Oh, 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 are you dreaming of me now? The way I do. Hold me, lover. I need you, lover. 'Cause I'm falling into